Happy Tuesday. I am so glad that you're here. Today, we're going to continue talking about some of my favorite fiction books. And I think we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So, one of my all-time favorite books, it was when I first started reading Christian fiction. And check out how big this one is, how long, how it is literally almost 700 pages long. And I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorites. It's one that I recommend to people all the time. It's called Pretense by Wick. It is about these two sisters, and it starts out kind of talking about them as kids, if I'm remembering right. It's one that I'm going to reread again. I love to read really big, thick fiction books the week of Thanksgiving and right around Christmas time, because that's when like my life slows down just a little bit and I get to like sit and read, because there's nothing that I hate more than when I'm fully invested in a story or immersed in a story and then I have to go and do life, like work long hours or whatever it is. I love getting to immerse myself in really big books. So this one is a major big favorite of mine. It's by Wick. It's Pretense. Trust me, I think you would absolutely love it. It's an older book, but as it says on the cover here, over 200,000 copies were sold. So obviously more than just me really liked this book. Another one that's a really long book that I absolutely loved. It's newer. It is Francine Rivers' The Masterpiece. It took me a little while to get into that one. I think it was a me problem, not a Francine Rivers problem. It wasn't her writing style and it wasn't her writing. It wasn't even the story. I think at that point in my life when I read it the first time or attempted to read it the first time, I wasn't there. It wasn't working for me. So I waited, I don't know, 6 months or a year, kept hearing how amazing the book was. You really need to read this one. This one's fantastic. So I picked it up again. Could not put it down. It was as amazing as they said. Now, having said that, nothing about Francine Rivers, but it reminded me, I belong to a group on Facebook called Avid Fiction Christian Readers, I believe is what it's called. Look up Avid Readers of Christian Fiction, something like that. I'll put the link down below, but it is so good. It is such an amazing group. Everybody is so friendly and so nice and so kind. And I have found some amazing books that way. Books from authors I never would have even known about, as well as authors that have become my favorites. And I just absolutely love that group. It is so fun. It is so encouraging. Everybody there is amazing. So if you're on Facebook, go to the Avid Christian Fiction Readers, I think. But again, I'll put it down below. I'll put the right, I wasn't planning on talking about that, so I didn't write the name down. But I think you will absolutely love it. I have found so many authors that way that it's just fantastic. The next book that I want to talk about, this is the second one in the book. I don't have, I couldn't find my copy of the first book in this one. The first book is called The Unlikely Yarn of the Dragon Lady by the same author. Sorry, there she is down there. Sharon Mondragon. I'm probably massacring her name and I apologize deeply. But I absolutely loved The Unlikely Yarn of the Dragon Lady. Amazing book. It's, I don't even crochet or stitch or do any of those things. I wish I did. I wish I could. Someday when I have a little bit more time, I'm going to learn. My daughter is learning this summer, so maybe she'll teach me. But loved the first book. Like, the characters were amazing, and it was the kind of book that it made me like, I actually honestly prayed. I'm like, God, I want to be like these people in this book. I want to be like the characters. Because basically what they did is they had like this prayer shaw group, and they used to meet at their church. Well, then the chapel was getting remodeled, so they had to find a different place to meet. So they ended up meeting at the mall. Well, then they were out in the midst of all these people, that they're praying for, and they met all these different people. And it talks about the Woolgathering Castoffs. And it just basically was saying that they met people that they wouldn't have ordinarily met. And it was such an amazing book. I literally was praying, God, I want to be those people. I want to be the type of people that when I go out and about, I'm looking up and I'm looking around, and I'm finding the people that you want me to be a blessing to, whether it's a smile, whether it's paying for something for them, whether it's striking up a conversation, whether it's praying for them, whatever it is, I want to be that kind of person. Well, this book is the next one in the series. So it's the same people, same characters. And it is also just as good. I have to tell you though, God knew what he was doing. They reached out to me and they asked me to write an endorsement for the book because I loved the first book so much. I was so honored. I'm like, yes, absolutely, I will. So it was a year ago from when I'm taping this video, not a year ago from when you're watching it, but it was in May when they asked me to do it. And there's a character in this book that ends up getting sick, and it was the exact same illness that my mother-in-law came down with a year ago when I was reading the book. So my mother-in-law went into the hospital and she died suddenly. I've talked to you about that on here before. I apologize. We're nearing, well, today is actually the day that I'm taping all of these, is the anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of her death. Not the day that you're watching it, but the day that I'm taping it. So it's a little bit rough. But anyway, when I read this book right after that, and the character had the exact same disease, illness, sickness that my mother-in-law had. And so in one sense, it was really hard to read that, but in another sense, it was kind of cathartic. And I'm the type of person who believes that God gives us what we need when we need it. So I know for a fact they reached out and asked me to endorse their book. So if I'm going to endorse a book for somebody, I'm going to read the book cover to cover. I'm not going to, skim it. I'm not going to look it up on Amazon and see what other people said about it. I couldn't have anyway because it wasn't out yet. But my point of the matter is, if somebody wants me to write a review, I'm going to read the book. And so I know for a fact that God had me read the book when he did. And that was part of his plan. And so having said all that, I still truly, truly, truly love this book, even though when I look at it and I think about it, it reminds me of a time in my life that was really difficult. So enough crying. But you know what? The crying has to do with fiction too, because I am a person who gets so involved in the characters in the books that I read that I cry for them, even though I know they're fake. Because that is one of the things that I think is absolutely amazing about fiction, or about nonfiction, but about fiction. Authors who can write the book so relatable and so real that you feel like the people are real and you can feel the emotions that they're feeling. And I think that part of that is a healing thing. I think that they go through issues that we go through. In fact, I told you a couple weeks ago, I was talking about Karen Kingsbury and how she was one of the first ones that I had ever read. And Ashley and Landon, the things that they went through in their story and then beyond, we were going through, my husband and I were going through. Landon got really sick. My husband got really sick, not the same illness. But we were going through it at the same time. So I'm bawling as I'm reading about Ashley and Landon, but it's healing for me because I'm like, God, I know, like, this is what I'm going through right now. How does she know how to write this? How does she know what I'm feeling? How does she know? How does she get me? And so I love it. Love it, love it when I read fiction that just kind of helps heal my heart. So anyway, next one, we're going to something fun. So I don't usually read rom-coms. I don't know. I like more real life. I like more in-depth. I like more deep topics. But sometimes they are just so fun. And this one I came across, read the back cover, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have got to read this book. It did not disappoint. It was so much fun. So if you want to read a nice light, but yet it still had an element of truth to it, it still had some deep biblical insights to it. If you want to read that kind of book, I wanted to be, I wanted to be Ginny. So there's Ginny and Jacqueline in here. I wanted to be Ginny. And it's funny because after I read this, we have been organizing and minimizing and decluttering our house and just making it more user friendly, family friendly. And so I was looking, and Ginny does some, like, she's really, really good at like repurposing things for the better. I am not. That's not a gift of mine. But I'm like, ooh, could I be more like Jenny? Could I do Ginny, not Jenny, sorry. Could I be more like Ginny? Can I do that kind of a thing? And yeah, if I showed you pictures of my brand new office that we worked on in April or March, I guess. Love my office, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not very good at decorating. I really wish I was. I want to be more like Ginny. This was a great, great, great book. So if you like fun, lighthearted, but yet with still some biblical insights and just nice, clean messages, here's the book for you. So like I said, I don't really read rom-com, but I would definitely read more from Melanie Carlson. And I've heard of some other really great ones too that I would be more than happy to check out as well. Unforgiven, Shelley Shephard Gray. You will not go wrong with anything from Shelley Shephard Gray. Amazing author. Love her so much. She writes contemporary Christian fiction as well as Amish. This one kind of gave you the best of both worlds. Loved this book. Loved the topic. The topic was domestic violence, abuse. You're going to be like, why do you love that? The way she wrote it was just so, I'll use a really big word, poignant. I can't even say it right. It was just so impactful and so realistic and so authentic. It was amazing. I would love to say that, sorry, Tabitha. I read so many books that I get their names mixed up, that I would love to say that Tabitha was my favorite, Tabitha and Seth, but I can't, because even the minor characters, Seth's sister, I think her name was Melanie, Melody, something like that. And, Lot. And Lot, minor characters, loved them just as much. This is a fantastic, biblically centered, doesn't preach at you, but yet preaches at you, if you know what I mean. Like, you get the message, you feel inspired, you feel hopeful, you feel, you get what God is telling you without it being shoved down your throat. Amazing book. Love this author. You will not be, even if you don't really like Amish fiction, I say give it a try, because this one is a combination. Some of the people in here are not Amish or are not practicing Amish. They're English. So give it a try. If you're not sure what you think about Amish fiction, give this one a try. So good. Loved it. Then the last one I'm going to talk about today, but we're going to come back to, next week, and we're going to talk about some more, is this one, The Road Before Us. I have been wanting to read this. She wrote a book, and I've got a peek because I can't remember the title of it, but trust me, you're going to want me to tell you. She wrote a book called With Every Memory, and I read that book first from her, and oh my goodness, was it a tough read? Absolutely. Was it an amazing read? Absolutely. Because of reading that book, when this one came out, I'm like, oh, I've got to read it. I'm sure it's not going to disappoint, because she is an amazing author. And sure enough, you can see where my little placeholder is here, bookmark. I don't do fancy bookmarks always, but sometimes I do. But I've just started this one, so I'm going to be reading this one all weekend, and it is so good already. I wasn't sure if I would like it as much, just simply because it's about a Ponzi scam and it's about a road trip, and I don't usually do road trips. Like, those aren't usually the things that I'm drawn towards. I'm drawn more towards domestic violence. Just kidding. But that's, but that's what intrigued me about this book. That was just a joke. But I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So that just goes to show you that when there's a great author out there, she can write about topics that aren't necessarily your favorite topics, but you can just absolutely love them. So that's the one that I'm reading currently now. Come back next week, though, because we're going to talk about some more, like, I love suspense, psychological thrillers. I love mystery. I love women's fiction. I love Amish fiction. I do love historical fiction. I'm not highlighting any of those because I read those the least, not because I don't necessarily like them. My issue is that they're so, A lot of the historical fiction are about like Civil War or wars, Vietnam War, the Nazis, things like that. And right now, in my season that I'm in right now in my life, I can't read about that kind of stuff. I just can't. And I know me, and there are times when I want to cry, and there are times when I don't want to cry, and there are topics that I want to read about and topics that I don't want to read about. And war, and those types of things are not in my season right now. Doesn't mean they're not great books. The Medallion by the last name I believe is Gohlke. I cannot remember her first name. I apologize profusely. I'll put it down below. But The Medallion, amazing book. Amazing, amazing, amazing. That book is all about the Nazi war. Wow, like went right there. Felt like I was right in there, right in the action. One that I will never forget, one that will just stay with me. And that's the other thing. When we read, everything that we put in our mind, whether we're watching it, whether we're listening to it, whether we're reading it, everything we put in our mind is going to stay there. And that is another big reason why I choose Christian fiction over non-Christian fiction, because I want what stays inside my head to be from a biblical perspective, not from a worldly perspective. My choice, that's what I choose. But that's another reason why I do it that way and why I stick strictly with Christian fiction. And I'm telling you, there are so many great authors. I'm only highlighting a few. Like, there are so many amazing, amazing, amazing authors that we get to choose from all the time. Our library has a fantastic inspirational fiction section. Amazon, all you got to do is type in like Christian fiction, Christian women's fiction, inspirational fiction, and like, or do the genres that you like Amish Christian fiction, mystery suspense Christian fiction, psychological thriller Christian fiction, like, and you'll get just downloaded hundreds and hundreds of authors. So don't take my word for it. There are amazing, wonderful, many, 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 many authors out there that you can choose from. And that's why I choose Christian fiction over secular fiction. Just a choice, my personal choice, but that's why I do it. So anyway, come back next week and we're going to talk about some more. I have like, I think 2 more weeks of fiction, and then we're going to switch over into nonfiction, and those are going to be just as exciting. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.